So the gamer, as the two viewers it has aptly nicknamed it on the internet, is a far left extremist publication that constantly pushes for the most ridiculous decisions in video games, decisions that are against anything that makes business sense. They absolutely hate gamers and the customers of these businesses, and they mock and ridicule anything that gamers say. And not for a single second will they stop and self-reflect. Not for a single second do they consider that maybe what we're pushing is actually destroying the industry. Because it's obvious that people aren't buying the product, and they notice that there's layoffs, but they just refuse to admit that the reason people aren't buying the product is because the product is garbage. And they will blame it on anything else. In fact, like, they can't even articulate why the product isn't selling, and they're like, oh, it's the greedy corporate bosses, the greedy corporate suits that just want to fire people. And I've noticed that whenever gamers are telling them what the problem is, not only do they dismiss the gamers, but they laugh and they mock and ridicule them. So, for instance, one of the big problem is this thing that activists are trying to push in games, which is gender abolition, right? And they do it through pronouns, they do it through removal of femininity, making characters ugly, aesthetically displeasing. But another thing is, like, the removal of masculinity. And I forgot who made the YouTube video on it, but, like, leftists on Twitter and on Reddit were mocking the video, despite the fact that the video had hundreds of thousands of views and was very popular, right? Like, people were saying, yeah, like, the removal of masculinity is why we are not buying games. And, like, look at an image, right? Like, this is Prince of Persia from back in the day. Like if I was a teenager, I would love this. In fact, I did when I was a teenager. Like, this looks badass. This looks cool. Not only is it good looking in the game, but, like, this makes me want to have a poster with this in my room. Like it's really great. And also, the same game had an amazing ass from one of the villainesses, right? So, like, if you're a teenager, and you're interested into sex and violence into fiction, like, you want to see sex appeal, you don't want to see pornography, but you want to see lewdness, right? Like you want to see strong feminine characters, and you also want to see, like, badassery and stuff like that. You're going to buy this product. I mean, this thing flies off the shelves just by the aesthetics alone, right? But let's look at how things are now. So now, we got this, right? Do you want a poster with this on your room? Like, is there anyone that finds it aesthetically pleasing? Is this, like, the type of design that people want to spend $70 on? Like, I'm not saying it shouldn't exist in art, but, like, how can you sell this? Who wants to buy? What is the market for this? Like seriously, I would like to sit down a game journalist and ask him, what do you think the demographic that buys this looks like? Like, are we talking about teenage guys between the age of 20-25, soccer moms between the age of 40-45, Christians? Like, how exactly do you view the person buying this? Because I can guarantee to you, I used to look like this. I already have a mirror in my house. I don't need to pay another $70 to see this shit in my fiction. Like, in my fantasy and my fiction, I wanted to see more of this shit. I didn't want to see any of this shit, right? And it's constant. It's freaking constant. It's not like you get to see it in one place, right? It's everywhere, which is what the video is saying that toxic masculinity has been... Which was what the video saying that they're removing masculinity from video games was articulating. Like, that's the thing, you know, representation is people identifying with what they feel comfortable. Masculinity is something that most guys identify with. They like that, they want to emulate that, they want to see it in their fiction. You forcing them to not see it, you pretending that it's wrong for them to be cisgender heteronormative, is making them not want to buy the product. And when they're purchasing Stellar Blade, you freak the fuck out and you don't understand why that is. You think that the minds of the guys have been poisoned by the Koreans with their vile imagery. But the reality is that is the opposite. Like, masculinity already exists and it just seeks out things for its entertainment. Because this is what it's all about, is the entertainment industry, right? So, like, people seek out product that they like. So if you manage to make every single product remove masculinity from it, what you're going to get is people just flat out refusing to buy it. Women don't like it, men don't like it, that's why it's not being bought. Now, a lot of leftists on Twitter were like, well, why are you showing that Prince of Persia? Why aren't you showing the new one? So, like, if you don't know, the new Prince of Persia doesn't feature a prince because it's problematic to have the prince rescuing the princess, right? Like, again, masculine tropes are now problematic, so we're removing them, even though they make us money. The second problem is that it doesn't take place in Persia, so, like, all the immersion is ruined. And finally, like, I'm sorry to say this, but, like, why did you give him a stereotypical lesbian haircut? This is what the people in the chat are saying, right? Like, the first one was edgy, was cool, was oozing with masculinity. This one, yeah, okay, like, he still has, like, pecs and stuff. But, like, his body language, the poses that you're showing, the fact that you're adding hip-hop music in a game that's called Prince of Persia, which is supposed to feed on Orientalism, which, again, makes money, right? But you think that's a problem, so you're avoiding it. I don't know what to say. Like you believe that humor is subjective, right? Like certain jokes are bad, certain jokes are good, but offense is objective, right? So, like, you hire consultants that believe they actually know what offends people, and it turns out that they are flat wrong, and you don't even want to admit that. They genuinely, unironically do not know what offends people, and they also fail to admit that art should be offensive. That sometimes people want to buy offensive things. So Orientalism, offensive. Toxic masculinity, offensive. Okay, but people want to buy that. Like, do that and people give you money. Oh, sexism, objectification of women, offensive. Meanwhile, Stellar Blade and Nikkei is swimming in cash right now. They're like a money printer. So like, you're hiring these consultants, you're listening to these journalists that somehow kind of make sense, but the reality is that they do not know what they're talking about. They are completely and absolutely clueless. They created their own culture that they agree with, and they have gotten moderators on various places on Reddit and on other forums that ban anyone that disagrees. So it gives you the illusion that, yeah, like, toxic masculinity, bad. Objectifying female characters in video games, bad. Orientalism, bad. But that's not the reality. I mean, it's not bad for business, that's for sure, right? So if you're in the mindset of changing society, maybe you should have joined the academia. Maybe you should have, have your own kids and educate them the way you want them to be. But if you're an entertainment company and you start educating the public is going to give you the middle finger. Because that's not your place. Like, you need to know your place. You're literally the monkey that dances. You're not the educator. You're not someone's parent, right? So this is why games aren't selling. And this is why the gamer is absolutely bewildered. And they're blaming it on the greedy corporations. They're blaming it on the greedy corporations as if the games are selling really well and the corporations just want to fire people and lay people off. And what I think is happening is that they're laying off some of the diversity teams and they're friends with the journalists, so, like, they're losing their connections and they're freaking out about it. But hey, like, you're not buying the games either, journalists. You're not spending money on the game. You're getting the games for free, right? So you can't complain. Like, if you genuinely like diversity, if you genuinely like the slop you're advocating for, you should purchase at least 10 or 20 copies to make up for the loss in sales. They do this in Japan. Everyone laughs when I suggest this. They think that I'm taking the piss. But, like, no, in Japan, there are certain mangas and there's certain anime that have niche fan bases. Like they cater to a niche audience because they're not interested in making money as much as the artist is interested in telling a story. And the people that have those things catered to them, they buy as crazy to make up for the lost sales and to promote the product. Which is something that doesn't happen in the West, but it actually shows, like, the different mindset, right? Like, imagine buying a game 10 times and you're not giving it to anyone. You're just having, like, those 10 copies of the game because you want to support the developer. It's kind of like a tip, if you will. Right, like if people that promote the slop, that are like, okay, Orientalism bad, this is bad, like, we need these themes, we need LGBT themes in games, we need race swapping and gender swapping and gender abolition and whatever the fuck, right? If they were to think like, oh, this company caters to me, I'm going to buy like 10 products of the same thing, you wouldn't have the layoffs. You wouldn't have this issue, but they're not doing it. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. And as usual, I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.